Good afternoon. In a quiet corner of Casablanca, tucked away from the bustle of the port and the wide boulevards, there's a small museum that most tourists never see. It's not the size of the museum that stays with you. It's the silence. The kind of silence that follows after a story stops being told out loud. The kind of silence that follows after a story stops being told out loud. No giant banners, there are no flashy signs, just a quiet plaque. Musée de Judaisme Moroccan, the Museum of Moroccan Judaism. The museum sits inside a former Jewish orphanage. Inside, there are photos of weddings long past, silver Torah scrolls, the family names once common on Casablanca street signs, but now remembered mostly in Paris, Tel Aviv, or Montreal. That museum is a keyhole to a Morocco that many people don't realize existed. So let's wind back the clock. For most of us, Morocco conjures up images of desert dunes, tagines, maybe a hammam or two. But what if I told you that for centuries, this country was one of the most multicultural societies in the world? Not just diverse, but actually functioning as a patchwork of coexisting identities. The Berbers, or the Amazigh as they call themselves, were here long before anyone else, farming the mountains, trading across the Sahara. Then came the Arabs in the 7th century, bringing Islam and a new language, but the Berbers weren't swept away. They adapted, they resisted a bit, and they merged. And that was Morocco's first layer. The next big wave came in 1492. As Catholic Spain completed its reconquest, it expelled Jews and Muslims who refused to convert. Many fled south across the Mediterranean and found a home in Morocco. And the Jewish population grew, and cities like Fez, Marrakesh, Essaouira, later Casablanca, developed thriving mellahs, which were the Jewish quarters that were separate but closely interwoven with daily Muslim life. Jewish people worked as merchants, craftsmen, court advisors, even diplomats. They spoke Arabic, Berber, Spanish, and later French. And they celebrated Moroccan holidays, and they were protected, albeit imperfectly, by a system of royal oversight. And for centuries, it worked. Not always equally, not without prejudice or tension, but together. Fast forward to the early 20th century, Morocco becomes a French protectorate, and here comes another layer. French Art Deco buildings spring up next to mosques. French schools are built, and Casablanca booms into a cosmopolitan trading hub. You could hear 5 languages in one street: Arabic, Berber, French, Spanish, Hebrew. Churches and synagogues operated openly. Cafes served croissants next to mint tea. Morocco became, quite unintentionally, a model of how multiculturalism might actually function. And then, quietly, the curtain began to fall. After Morocco gained independence in 1956, the National Identity Project kicked into gear. Now, understandably, there was a push to reclaim Moroccan culture from the colonial imprint. But part of that meant narrowing the definition of what Moroccan meant. French influence was still strong, but the official narrative leaned heavily into the Arab-Islamic identity. And at the same time, global politics were shifting too. The founding of Israel in 1948, followed by a series of Arab-Israeli wars, led many Moroccan Jews to feel unsafe or unwelcome. And from the late 1940s to the 1970s, over 250,000 Jews left Morocco. Today, fewer than 2,000 remain. The Christians mostly left too, along with the French and Spanish colonists. Morocco didn't close its doors, but the mosaic began to chip. Sometimes diversity ends in violence. Here it ended much more quietly. One neighbor at a time, one closed shop, one school curriculum rewritten. No more Jewish weddings in the street, fewer languages spoken at home. And gradually, a once richly layered society became more monochrome. Not poorer in culture, per se. Morocco remains proud, artistic, deeply rooted, but narrower, less plural. The word Moroccan became simpler. And in the process, something was lost. And yet the echoes are still there. The Synagogue Museum in Casablanca still opens its doors. The Church of Notre Dame still holds Mass. In Agadir, you'll find Amazigh motifs on buildings and street signs in Tamazight. And since 2011, the Moroccan constitution has officially recognized the Amazigh identity and language. The king himself has spoken of Morocco's Jewish heritage with pride. But perhaps the most powerful sign that Morocco remembers is the stories still whispered in its old buildings. In Casablanca, the Art Deco Sacred Heart Cathedral, once Christian, now used for concerts. It stands next to a public square where kids play football under the shadow of colonial architecture. And the old mellahs are there too, even if they've changed their purpose. So let's open up the portal and see what's waiting for us to discover in our next ports of call in Morocco, which are Agadir and Casablanca. Agadir isn't your classic Moroccan postcard with winding Medinas and ancient walls. Instead, it's a little bit like Morocco hitting the reset button after a devastating earthquake in 1960. The city was almost completely rebuilt, and today it feels more relaxed and open. You think wide boulevards, palm trees, there's a laid-back beachfront vibe. It's modern Morocco. It's where European tourists mingle easily with local surfers. The pace is pleasantly unhurried. Sure, Agadir might not have centuries-old souks, but its charm lies in its welcoming atmosphere. Friendly locals, sometimes too friendly, and the way it comfortably blends tradition with modernity without ever really seeming to rush. It's also a bit of a heartbreaker, this port. So this is what it looks like. You get off the ship into this gorgeous landing area. And there you will find absolutely nothing. You'll find some taxis, which are cash only, and of course, Melanie's famous shuttle bus service. Melanie's famous shuttle bus service will take you to Amal Square. Amal Square. Not too far. They call it a 20-minute drive, but most of that is actually navigating the port area. Once you're out of the port area, it's really not far at all. And you can get to the beachfront in about 15 minutes if you're walking. All right, let's get into our top 5 for Agadir. In a district called Abattoir, Souk El Had is not your typical polished tourist market. It's the real deal. Bustling, it's chaotic, it's like a weekly shopping trip turned into an adventure. Picture, you've got locals haggling energetically over spices, you've got these fresh olives just piled high, you've got kids weaving in between the stands that are stacked with leather slippers and shiny teapots. It's big enough to get mildly lost, but that is part of the experience. It's amazing there, and you will inevitably leave with things that you didn't know you needed, and that's because you don't need them, but you'll want them anyway. Whether you're after fragrant herbs, hand-woven baskets, just a friendly exchange and a smile, this souk captures everyday Moroccan life. It is messy, it's colorful, and it is full of surprises. And it's pushy. They've got, by the way, amazing, it's round the back, if you can find the back. They've got the most amazing rugs. They're very heavy, so if you get a big one, get them to ship it home for you. You can do that here, and they just ship it straight home. But you can get a smaller one, and you don't need to have it shipped. But, drooling. The Agadir Art Museum, which is officially known as the Museum of Berber Heritage, is a small but intriguing spot that dives into the Berber culture that has shaped Morocco for centuries. It's one of those museums that feels like a neighbor has just sort of opened up their home to show you their family's story. Inside you find displays of traditional jewelry, beautifully woven carpets, tools that speak to the resilience of Berber life. It's a quiet, thoughtful place for anybody curious about the local traditions, keen to understand more about the roots that run deep beneath Agadir's modern surface. This one amazing. The Agadir Ufella, or most of the locals will call it the Kasbah. This is that classic spot that people head to for panoramic views across Agadir. There's not much left of the original fortress after the earthquake, but it's all about the vantage point, especially around sunset, which I hope you won't see. You'll find locals up there offering camel rides or camel photo ops, but be prepared, nothing is free. So €5, I just took euros last time I came here, €5 was for a photo. And so it's quite expensive for a photo with an animal that spits at you, but if you want to sit atop a camel, please make sure you agree a price beforehand to avoid any awkward and what can be quite uncomfortable bargaining afterwards. Even without the camels, it's worth visiting just to soak in the sea breeze, to get that view of the city from above. And there are some souvenir stands. As you're walking into the Kasbah, they set up their stands on the floor as you're walking in, and you can pick up a good souvenir there. You can go to the beach. Plage d'Agadir is exactly what you'd want from a city beach. It's wide, it's sandy, it's seriously laid back. It stretches on for miles. It's lined with cafes, ice cream stalls, a couple of relaxed spots to just grab a fresh fish or a cold drink. The promenade behind it is lively, but it's never hectic. And so it's a perfect place for a more casual stroll, a bit of people watching. Locals and visitors alike will lounge under umbrellas, the kids will kick footballs around, the surfers will go paddling out to catch some of the more gentle waves. It's the kind of beach where spending a whole lazy morning feels just right. No fuss, no rush, it's just easygoing Moroccan charm. And right by that is the Corniche. So this is where everybody ends up sooner or later. It's the go-to strip for food, for coffee, and for that front row seat to the beach. And it's lined with this mix of laid-back cafes and restaurants. And so it's great if you're after a quick mint tea, which they serve with lots of sugar as well. Oh, it's great. Seafood, just something cold whilst watching the world go by. Prices here on the Corniche are a bit higher than in town. But you're paying for the view, you're paying for the sea breeze. It's relaxed, it's pretty clean. And so it's a good option if you just want to slow down and enjoy a local coffee. So here are those 5 on a map. I would recommend that 2, 4, and 5 are walkable, but the other 2, I wouldn't walk there. I would get a taxi to go out there. Or indeed an excursion, and there are excursions that go to both. One note about the market, and I wish I had a better answer for you, but I don't. The market says that it is closed on religious holidays. It doesn't specify which religion. And we are going to be there on Easter Sunday. So whether that counts as a religious holiday or not for the market, I don't know. And they don't have a website, and there's no one to contact, which is a real shame. So if you do want to head out to the souk, which is highly, highly my favorite thing here, then hopefully we'll be able to get that information from the locals that will be greeting us at the buses. But it's just worth being aware. We are going to be there on Easter Sunday. Okay, now on to Casablanca. Casablanca also isn't quite what most people picture when they think of Morocco. It's big, it's busy, it's surprisingly modern, and it's the country's economic engine. This is where glass towers rise next to Art Deco buildings. It's where business deals are made over strong coffee and loud opinions. But there's a buzz to it. It's got a confidence. It's a city that's always on the move. And the French influences still linger in the cafes and the street signs, but this is very much Moroccan at its core. It's less about the past, it's more about the present, and if you want to feel for Morocco's future, then Casablanca is probably the best place to start. And this is the gangway. Depending which deck it ends up being on, it will be either steeper or less steep, but you can see that it's a local gangway that we use here, and I don't know how closely you can see, but it has ridges in the gangway. So it's not your smoothest ride off the ship. And when you do successfully get to the end of that gangway, which ends with 2 stairs, followed by that ramp, you will find some taxis, which are cash only, and you will find Melanie's famous shuttle bus service, which on this occasion will drop you off at United Nations Square. United Nations Square, and from there, you are about a 15 to 20 minute walk to a few of the attractions, but this is a bigger city. And so this is a city where it might be advisable to get a taxi and get them to stay with you, and you give them a list of the things that you wanted to hit in your time there, and then essentially you've turned them into your private tour guide, and just negotiate a price for a block of time with them. Let's get into our top 10 for Casablanca. All right, the Hassan II Mosque is Casablanca's most iconic site. It's hard to miss this one. It's built partly over the Atlantic. It's one of the largest mosques in the world. It features the tallest minaret anywhere, and that's 210 meters tall. And unlike many mosques in Morocco, this one is open to non-Muslims as well if you go on a guided tour. So this gives people a rare chance to see its intricate marble work, hand-carved ceilings, ocean views. Next door, there's a museum as well. It offers a quieter, more detailed look at the Moroccan craftsmanship, including woodwork, ceramics, mosaics. And between the mosque and the museum, this is a true showcase of Morocco's artistry and architectural ambition, as well as, of course, its religious heritage. Talking of religious heritage, well, here's the Sacred Heart Cathedral. It's no longer a place of worship, but it's still one of the city's most eye-catching landmarks. It was built in the 1930s during the French colonial period, and its design is this curious mix of Art Deco and Neo-Gothic. Got these towering white, it's a little bit surreal with the palm trees there. It almost looks like the Church of Scientology to me. Now, it hasn't held mass since the 1960s. It was only in operation for 30 years. Now it's used for art exhibitions and cultural events. And you can often wander inside. When it's open, just let yourself in. There's this quiet, sort of echoey interior. It's sort of eerie, actually, as you head inside. But it's a reminder of Casablanca's colonial past and now repurposed for a more creative future. Now, the Church of Notre Dame of Lourdes stands out not just for its striking 1950s architecture, its huge stained glass windows, but because it's still very much in use today. And so unlike the older Casablanca Cathedral, which is now closed to worship used for those events, this church is still an active place of prayer with regular services and a small but devoted congregation. The design is modern, it's simple, but the light streaming through the glass just gives it the most peaceful, otherworldly feel. It's a quiet reminder of Casablanca's multicultural past and its still thriving Christian community today. Now, the Royal Palace in Casablanca may look grand from the outside, but that's as close as you're going to get, because visitors are strictly not allowed in. So it's tucked away in the Habous district, and this is the king's main residence in Morocco's economic capital. It is strictly off limits. So it's built in the 1920s by French architects, later renovated under King Hassan II. But this is more than a pretty building. This has hosted some really major moments in Moroccan history, including a groundbreaking meeting between King Hassan II and Pope John Paul II in 1985. You can admire the gates, but don't expect a tour. It is very much invitation only. The lighthouse, El Hank Lighthouse, stands tall on Casablanca's coastline, quietly doing its job while offering one of the best views of the city, if you're up for the climb. So it was built in the early 20th century. It still guides ships into the port, but it's also become a bit of a local landmark. And so you'll often find couples strolling nearby or kids playing, the Atlantic waves crashing below. And for a small tip, you can go up the narrow spiral staircase, 256 steps to the top, and it is worth it. You get this sweeping view of the sea and the skyline. It is a bit off the usual tourist trail, but that makes it even better. But just bring some small change to tip the lighthouse keeper. Here's a nice park. It's close to the cathedral, Arab League Park. It's one of Casablanca's green lungs. It's a calm stretch of palm-lined paths, shady benches, right in the middle of the city. It's not fancy, but it's the kind of place that locals go to catch a breath or to eat lunch or just to go and sit and chat. And it's been recently renovated, so it's much tidier. It's better kept than it used to be. You've got good paths for walking, fountains that actually work. You'll see families, students, the odd jogger weaving through. And so if the city starts to get a little bit too much and you just need a peaceful spot to reset, no ticket needed, you just need a bit of time here. And nearby is Mohammed V Square. This is Casablanca's main civic hub. It's a grand open space. It's surrounded by the official buildings, strong French colonial architecture in this area. At its center is the famous Pigeon Fountain, which, true to its name, is usually surrounded by a lively crowd of fluttering pigeons and kids chasing them. Rats with wings. It's a favorite gathering spot for locals. It's especially nice in the evening, and we will be there fairly late into the day on this occasion. So families then come out for an evening stroll once the heat starts to subside. The square has that mix of formal and relaxed. It's official looking, got the facades on one side, but then on the other side you've got ice cream sellers, you've got chatty teenagers. It's a really nice place to just take a moment of pause. And then you've got the Medina. So the Medina market in Casablanca isn't as grand or as maze-like as the ones in Fez or Marrakesh, but it still offers a slice of that traditional Moroccan life. This is a working market for locals first and foremost, and tourists second. So expect everyday chaos. Fresh produce, fabrics, knockoff trainers, the occasional goat head on display. I love goats. The narrow streets just hum with activity. If you like a bit of haggling, I love a bit of haggling. If you like a bit of haggling, then you're in the right place. This is the place to go. It is gritty in parts. It can be a little bit intimidating for some people, but you know what? That's part of its charm. You will find genuine smiles here. You'll find strong smells, not all of them pleasant, and good deals if you've got the patience. And maybe also a few words of French, because that comes in really handy here, especially when negotiating. Because suddenly they can't talk English once you start negotiating. And I mentioned this one before, the Museum of Moroccan Judaism. It's quietly powerful. It's a thoughtful space that tells the story of a 2,000-year Jewish presence in Morocco. And it is the only Jewish museum in the entire Arab world. So that already makes it unique. Is it closed? Oh, it's closed at the weekend. Nice to know it's there, though. That's a shame. Inside, though... Oh, we're there on a Monday. Oh, look at these people trying to trip me up. Inside, it's the personal touches that really hit home. Family photos, ritual objects, Torah scrolls, the stories of daily life as it was. It paints a picture of deep cultural connection, not just religion, but of how the Jewish and Muslim communities lived side by side here for generations. It's not flashy, it's not high-tech, but it's moving, it's respectful, and it's absolutely worth a visit if you're curious about Morocco's layered identity. And the final one of our 10 is the mall. Morocco Mall isn't just a shopping center, it's a whole afternoon out. It is massive, glossy, it's packed with everything from designer labels to local brands, plus there's an indoor aquarium that's unexpectedly impressive, and there's this small souk-style section if you want to go for that taste of traditional shopping without the haggling. Locals come here to shop, they come here to eat, they come here to hang out. They come here just to escape the heat for a bit because it's air-conditioned. And it's got your usual food court. There are some decent cafes. There are some restaurants here with sea views. Whether you're a serious shopper, whether you're just browsing, this is good. It's comfortable, it's air-conditioned, and it's pretty modern. And here they all are on a map. So Melanie's famous shuttle bus service gets you to comfortable walking distance to 2, 7, and 8, and probably on to 6 as well, because if you've made it to the Sacred Heart Cathedral, then you're right there to go and see the Arab League Park. But everywhere else, you're going to be looking for a taxi or an excursion. They are too far to walk. This is a bigger place. You could spend, by the way, all day, or maybe all morning or all afternoon, maybe not all day, in ancient Medina. So 8 is the Medina market, but you can then just walk the streets of the Medina area. This is the old town, the historic center, and it sort of then spread and grew from there. But you could just lose yourself in the roads there, and just we hope we'll see you again. Before we wrap up, I want to take you back to that small museum that is open when we visit. Not literally, but if you have the chance when we are there, please go. Because inside it's pretty simple. White walls, simple displays, a cabinet filled with silver candlesticks, a tourist roll behind the glass. But at the entrance, there are some mosaics. Different shapes, different colors, but they fit together. They make a whole. Morocco was once that mosaic. Different communities living side by side, distinct but connected. Muslims, Jews, Christians, Berbers, Arabs, French, Spanish. The pieces didn't always fit smoothly. Some rubbed, some cracked, but the picture held. And then over time, pieces started falling away. Sometimes it was due to politics, sometimes due to fear, sometimes just the slow shifting of identity like sand in the wind. What remains today is still beautiful, it's still complex, but you can see the missing pieces if you know where to look. A locked synagogue, a half-empty church, a street name that no longer matches the language of the people walking on it. That doesn't mean that Morocco failed. On the contrary, it held together longer than most. But it does leave us with a question. What do we do when pieces of a society go missing? We can pretend they were never there, that the mosaic was always simpler, cleaner, more uniform. Or we can remember them, learn from them, teach them, honor what was, not just with nostalgia, but with understanding. Because multiculturalism isn't about everyone being the same. It's about learning how to be neighbors across difference. And that takes effort, it takes curiosity, it takes tolerance, yes. But it takes more than that. It takes intention. You have to choose it. Every generation does. And Morocco did for a very long time. And in small ways, it still does. In a museum, in a story, in a language written back into a road sign, in a Catholic church that still opens its doors. And as we sail towards Morocco, I can't help but think about that mosaic and notice that it does still exist. It will exist in Agadir. It will exist in Casablanca too. You know where exactly it will exist? Right here, on board this ship. Because if you ask me to pick one thing that makes a cruise ship special, just one thing, it's not the decorations, it's not the itinerary, it's the people. And I challenge you to find another place on earth where so many people from so many vastly different backgrounds work and live so harmoniously, so respectfully, and so supportively together. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you.